know about animal testing? Millions of animals, including mice, rats, rabbits, cats, and dogs, are imprisoned in laboratories for animal testing that ranges from drugs to our simple everyday shampoo. They are locked in barren cages, suffer in pain, ache with loneliness, and long to live their lives with their families in their natural environments. But all they can do is to sit and wait for the next painful procedure to be performed on them. If you heard their screams, would you help? Today, I'm going to talk about why we should all not support animal testing due to its cruel and unethical procedures. To fully understand the terrible act of animal testing, I will first answer what animal testing is exactly, followed by the detrimental effects of animal testing, and finally ending off my speech with actions that we can all take to stop animal testing. In research and testing, animals are subjected to experiments that include everything from testing of new drugs to infecting with diseases, poisoning for toxicity testing, burning skin, implanting of electrodes into brains, blinding, and many more other painful and invasive procedures. It can include protocols that cause severe suffering, such as long-term social isolation, electric shocks, withholding of food and water, or repeated breeding. On the whole, animal testing is cruel and inhumane. Animals in labs suffer not only pain from protocols, but also severe stress from day-to-day laboratory lives. They spend their lives living in barren cages, unable to make choices or express their natural behaviors. Most never experience fresh air or sunshine, only bars and concrete. According to the Humane Society International, animals involved in experiments are commonly subjected to force feeding, forced inhalation, deprivation of food and water, and prolonged periods of physical restraint. They are also subjected to the infliction of pain and burning to study the healing process, its effects, and possible remedies. The Dre's eye test, for example, is one of the most common procedures used by many cosmetic companies to evaluate irritation caused by shampoo or other products. Examples of some of these procedures include rabbits being incubated in stocks with their eyelids held open by clips, sometimes for multiple days, to prevent them from breaking away the products being tested. Another one of the more common tests used is the level dose 50 test, which involves finding out which dose of a chemical used will kill more than 50% of the animal test subjects. According to the statistics provided by the United States Department of Agriculture in 2015, reported that more than 97,000 animals used in experiments suffered pain and are not given any anesthesia for pain relief. Despite animal testing being so commonly used, it actually brings about more disadvantages than advantages. Firstly, drugs that pass animal tests are not necessarily safe in humans, and the test results are actually unreliable. According to the Food and Drug Administration, 92 out of every 100 drugs that pass in animal tests are not safe for humans. For example, the arthritis drug, Voice. Animal tests on Voice showed that it had protective effect on the hearts of mice, yet it went on to cause more than 27,000 heart attacks and sudden cardiac deaths before being finally put out of the market in 2004. This simply supports my next point, that animals are very different from human beings, which makes them poor test subjects. Animal testing is not 100% accurate, because animals' biological makeup is very different from human beings. The anatomic, metabolic, and cellular differences in humans make animals and people very different, and animals poor models for human beings. According to Paul Furlock, professor of clinical neuroimaging at Johns Hopkins University, states that it is very hard to create an animal that will be similar to what we're trying to achieve in human beings. He argues for alternatives to animal testing because we humans are not 150-pound rats. Most experiments involving animals are flawed, hence wasting the lives of many poor innocent animal subjects. Now that we all know how harmful animal testing is, we should all learn how to help put an end to animal testing. First of all, we should support the use of alternative testing methods that now exist which can replace the need for animals. In vitro testing, such as the study of cell cultures in a petri dish, can actually produce more relevant results due to the use of human cells instead. Microdosing, the administering of doses too small to cause adverse reactions, can be used in human volunteers, whose blood is then analyzed. Instead of measuring how long it takes for a chemical to burn the cornea of a rabbit's eye, manufacturers can now drip chemicals into cornea-like 3D tissue structures, which are made from human skin cells. Artificial human skin, such as commercially available epiderm and insert, is made from sheets of human skin cells grown in test tubes of plastic wells, which will produce more useful results rather than testing chemicals on animal skin. Microfluidic chips, which are designed to be in line with human cells, can recreate the functions of human organs, are already in the advanced stages of development. Computer models, such as virtual reconstruction of human molecular structures, can predict the toxicity of substances instead of using invasive experiments on animals. With numerous better and more alternatives to animal testing, there is no reason why companies should still continue to drip chemicals into animals' eyes. Another action we can all definitely take is to buy cruelty-free cosmetic and household products. Johnson & Johnson, L'Oreal, and Vaseline are just some of the many common products that many of us may use daily that still force substances into animal stomach. There have been a number of advancements in non-animal research methods, so there should be no excuse for sick and twisted experiments on animals. The world certainly doesn't need another animal, soap, pesticide, or food ingredient so badly that it should come at the expense of animals' life. We can also join organizations that are against animal testing, such as People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA for short, in an effort to exploit companies that do tests on animals. In conclusion, animal testing is cruel, inhumane, and heart-wrenching. We should all take actions to help protect and save these poor innocent animals from unnecessary harm and torture. All suffering is undesirable, be it in humans or animals. Discriminating against animals just because they do not have the cognitive ability, language, or moral judgment is no more justifiable than discriminating against humans with severe mental impairments. As quoted from English philosopher Jeremy Bentham once said, the question is not, can they reason, nor can they talk, but can they suffer? Thank you.
Justin, what did you think?
I thought it was really good, actually. I thought she had a set structure. I thought that she should have not had her notes. Like, she would have created a lot more credibility. She cited her sources. I thought that she could have given a little bit more of an emotional response to it. It sounded like a little like mechanical, like she had like a frame, like she had a frame too much. But otherwise, it was really good.
Okay. Yeah, I think the presentation is what gives it that mechanical sort of atmosphere. It's very regular, the pacing is consistent, and there needs to be some more effective pauses and some variation in your delivery, your vocal delivery, to go along with that. Plus, I think you've got some negative visualizations in the speech that you don't really get as much use out of because you aren't emphasizing them as well. And they're early on in the presentation, so it's a thing that would maybe help create that emotional bond that you were talking about and predispose people to seeing things in the harsh light that you see them. I think it's very well organized. I did think that you cited your sources most of the time. There were a few places where there was one spot in particular where you made a whole series of claims and then you followed it up with a piece of testimony that made the exact same claims, so it sounded like it was, evidence that was supposed to prove the previous point, but because they're in two separate places, it just sounded a little bit redundant and repetitive, and so I thought that was a little complicated. I would very much hesitate at the conclusion to include PETA among your suggestions. PETA is a notoriously what would we say, radical group in relationship to this subject, and a lot of people might pull back and say, well, here's somebody who's aligned with PETA, they're crazy, as opposed to somebody who's making a reasonable argument. So I would be a little hesitant about that. All right. Thank you.